Emily, how are you?
I'm good, Craig. How are you?
Fantastic. We've got there. We had a change of schedules, but we are here, and this is episode 7. So thank you so much for coming on. Now, Emily, I want to dive straight into it. You are going to be competing this year. You are going to be
Yeah,
Bikini for the second season,
third.
third season. Sorry.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's going so well. Probably my best prep so far. I suppose this year things are different. Like last year, we lived in Marbella. I done my prep from there. Didn't fully feel like the environment supported my goals. And just it feels like a stress relief. Been moved home. I suppose I feel a lot more in control.
Is that what? Is it a party lifestyle out there? Or is it what was the stress?
Yeah, so when I would be going for my morning walk, which would be, 6 a.m. or that, I was walking by everybody who was still out, like, still walking the streets, still palladic. And this kind of goes on most of the year. That's for the summer kind of warmer months. And then for the darker months, like such as winter, and, early January, things like that, then it went to a ghost town. So I didn't feel like there was ever a happy medium, not even for a month or two.
Wow, I mean Marbella though, that's it. I mean, I would have this impression in my head that Marbella is like where the rich and the famous go. Like, was you there working? Was you there? Why was you there?
So I was over there and I was living in the center of Puerto Banús, it is like you're right. There's yachts, there's Porsches, there's the richest of the rich. Like I would occasionally see, or sorry, a lot. I would see a lot of the time people walk in their dogs, and their dogs are dressed in Gucci, and then their kids will also be dressed head to toe in Gucci. So it is for the rich, but it is very much so somewhere where like I know like the people from like Maid and Essex and things like that would just go over there to party, and a lot of people would do that same thing. I was over there, I was doing online coaching, and I was also still working for the company I'd done health and safety for virtually. So they were happy to, I was meant to be leaving it before I left. And I suggested to them because they hadn't got anyone else yet. I was like, I can do some of it virtually because I was kind of working from home anyway. So that kind of kept me going over there, and it was good to have both to focus on. But other than that, the people I met most of the time, don't get me wrong, everybody was lovely, but it's a lot of it's a lot of OnlyFans and things like that, which, it was just that I didn't have common ground with many of the people I met, and it was kind of hard to make friends because of that.
Mm. And then you say you came back, refocused on the prep, and now you're how many weeks away are you from competing?
I think I'm about 7 or 8 weeks out. I haven't actually set a date in stone because I can't place the pressure on myself right now. At the moment, I'm like heavily focused on my business, and I've recently dropped the health and safety job as well, just so that I could focus on that a little bit more. So to me, like the pressure of doing an early show for no reason and for that to impact my business's growth, it just wouldn't be worth it. The stage is always there. There's loads of shows on across the year.
Mm. And what's it like in Ireland? Because I mean, UK especially. What federation is it? Are you doing PCA?
No, it's NPC. So
NPC.
some people might call it IFBB, but I would refer to that one as the other side of it. Obviously, they're both kind of split in half now.
Hmm.
And IFBB is, I don't know how you would explain that one, but it's different posing. It's a different federation, and the IFBB, they can't actually go to the Olympia. Not that that's my goal, but I suppose that's how you would segregate them from each other.
Yeah, and is there lots and lots of shows? Because I know in the UK, like we've got many different federations, but we've just got hundreds of shows. I think most federations have actually reduced the amount of shows because people were just burning out, and because we're competing like 5 times in a year.
Yeah, so Ireland doesn't really have any shows. Like we do a few PCA shows, and like you'd know about them. There might be, I'm gonna say 2 to 3. And then with your NPC shows, um, one, one per year. And that's in about April time. So I go over to the UK to compete. I love the UK.
Oh, a little holiday. Oh, fantastic. Um,
You have so much more going on over there.
oh, I mean, it is a lot bigger than Ireland. Ireland is like really tiny compared to be fair.
I know, I know. No, I love living here, but I love the UK kind of how busy it is. We've got the one show that is on here is a brilliant one as well. It's Muscle Contest.
Okay, cool.
Don't
Well,
know if you've heard of it.
You know what? Even though I've been in like the industry for years, in terms of bodybuilding, I've only really started to paying attention since like 21 when I competed for the first time, and that was probably I still didn't know a lot about it when I was stepping on stage. I only knew of that one federation, the one that I was competing in. I just didn't know anything
Yeah,
else.
and I totally get you on that. I was similar in my first season, but I think that the longer you're actually doing it and the more people you begin to know and like follow on Instagram and things like that, I think it's a lot more comforting, because especially
Mm.
now that people kind of share their struggles a little bit more, people are really, really open to connect in the bodybuilding world, which is one reason I absolutely love it. I think people would probably look at my lifestyle and how I live and think, that looks like a lonely road. She doesn't spend much time with her friends or doing things that aren't orientated around either work or improving her physique or her health or anything like that. But the reality is, like, I have never felt so connected to so many like-minded people through this sport, and I think that there's just a stigma, sorry, around the alternative for that.
You know what? I spoke to somebody last week about this. In fact, I spoke to a client about it, and I think it's a case of you tend to surround yourself with like-minded individuals, and if you don't, you really struggle in an area. I think so. Like if you was like you're a bikini competitor, could you imagine how genuinely lonely it would be if your partner wasn't in the industry, if you didn't know other people in the industry, and you was the only one in your social group that had that as an interest?
Yeah, and to be honest, Craig, that kind of was the situation. Now, like me and Pierce are together nearly 5 years, and he obviously knows his shit within competing, and he's my coach, and he does a brilliant job of it. I don't see myself ever changing from that. But outside of that, when it was just me and him, it was quite lonely because none of my friends were even really heavily involved in the gym. And to be fair, you'll probably relate to this. What's going on in my head and the things I enjoy talking about are very relative to health and fitness. And if it's not directly your physical health and your physical fitness, it's like maybe your mobility or your mindset and your outlook on life. And other than that, I love talking about business. I love talking about progress. So to hang around with people, what I found was that I really, really noticed how much people complain about things.
Yeah.
Because yeah, when you know yourself, when you're like constantly working on yourself, whether that's your mind, your body, your business, your mindset is positive and you understand the impact that your mindset has on your life. So that whole aspect of complaining about everything all the time, you notice it in other people.
Yeah, and we mentioned, well, we spoke about it a little bit off air, didn't we? That people complain about things, and people don't understand. Like you pick your battles. So we might complain that we're busy. We might complain this, but we choose to be that busy because that's what we find positive. Like we want to be busy, we want to be doing like bettering ourselves in the gym. But then other people might have a completely like different mindset to it.
Yeah, and I think Craig, like when you push yourself like past your limits in anything, so it could be your career, it could be your health, your fitness, all of these things that you mightn't necessarily feel like doing all the time, and maybe sometimes you feel like you might not get through the day. Every time you do that, it becomes easier and easier to keep pushing yourself. And if it is with your body, for me it started off when I done my first prep, and I developed that mindset or began to develop it. Over the years, that just gradually fed into my career and made me so driven in that, because I got past these days where I genuinely woke up and said, how am I going to do this? How am I going to train today? How am I going to do my work? And I done them anyway. And now my ability to do that every single day is like, it seems easy to me.
Yeah, I can remember back. Oh, I was young. I was probably 17, and I was playing semi-professional basketball at the time, many, 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 many moons ago. And my workload as a 17-year-old, I was working probably 3 shifts a week. I was doing full-time education. I was playing for multiple basketball teams, and probably I was training like 4 hours a day, every day, plus traveling up and down the country playing. And I used to coach a under 18, no, under 16s team. And when you're 16, you've perhaps got a really good work ethic or you've got a really shit work ethic and you just play on computer games all day. And these kids, they would train for 2 hours a week and have one game on a weekend. And the amount of times I had to kind of draw my timetable up on the whiteboard and say, look, guys, this is what I'm doing. This is what I fit into the week. You telling me that you can't fit in 2 hours of basketball into the week because you don't have time? And I think from that early age, I've always tried to push that through and kind of push those boundaries. Do you think you had it at an early age, or have you developed it?
You know what, Craig? I think this very much so touches on that point that we were kind of discussing before. Like, the more you have to do, the more you can do. So, like, I know for myself, like looking back when I used to think I was busy, when I was like, I'm working my 9 to 5, and then I'm going to the gym, and like, trying to get some downtime for myself. When in reality, like, I wasn't that busy, and now I'm so much busier, but like my stress levels are way lower. So you asked if I think it came on from an early age. I don't actually think it did, but I knew I always wanted to be better, and I knew that there was a way I could do, because I have seen other people do so much in their days. So I know it's possible.
Mm.
But it's very much so, like, the more you do something, the easier it is to do. The busier you are, the more you'll get done.
And do you have to
I don't
consciously think
think
about that though? Do you have to think, right, where in my day can I be more productive? Or does it just like naturally happen that things come your way, things get put on your plate and you just have to deal with it?
um I think, like, when it comes to that kind of busyness, it's been kind of gradual. Do I have to think about it? I think you're gonna have to rephrase the question there,
Do you have
if you don't
to,
mind.
yeah, no, do you have to think, right, I'm busy now, but if I do this, if I kind of, bring these two tasks together, if I multitask here, if I move this to that place, I'll create more time and I can do more things? Or do you kind of just do it naturally, where you create that time to manage things better?
Okay, so what I do is I have my day planned around when I perform best at each of my tasks. And that's a conscious decision. So, like, now I wake up at between 3:30 and 4:30 every morning. Um, and it's fine because I go to bed at 7:30 to 8:30 every night. The reason that I changed that round, and that's only kind of in the last 6 months or so, is because I realized that after 7:30 in the evening, I wasn't doing anything productive. And I don't think that most people do anything that productive at that time in the evening. I understand people have to spend time with their loved ones and things like that, but for me, that's not what I was doing. I was just watching TV or maybe doing some housework and that. So now what I've done is, I know my energy levels are highest in the morning for my training performance, and for my cardio, I find it a lot more doable. So I do them first thing in the morning. I'd be in the gym every day for either 5:30 or 6 o'clock. I know that my creative side and my brain working at its best happens in the afternoon and the morning time. So I do most of my work then between like 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. After that, it's just kind of consultation calls. So I find that structure in my day around how my brain responds best to certain things was a game changer for me in productivity and busyness.
Mm. And did you ever train in the evenings? Because I'm exactly the same. I train. The latest I train is 10:30. That's the latest that I'm in the gym, and that's just because, like, getting the kids to school and walking the dog and all the rest of it. I know I would normally like to train no later than 6 a.m. But have you ever done the evening workout? Because I've never been able to do it ever.
I did. I used to do the evening workouts a few years back when I was doing my first prep. I would have done it pretty much everything in the evening time. Um, Look, it's not worth it. Like, for me, you've too many obstacles that can get in your way. I feel like come the end of the workday, you're starting to talk yourself out of it or having to talk yourself into it. Obviously there's that science behind it that the more food you have in your tank, the better you're going to perform, because more calories equals more energy. But I think we forget that we have a brain, we have a mind, we're humans. It's not just filling a car tank with diesel. You're going to have feelings towards the things that you're doing in the day. So I did train in the evening time, and all I found was that it was really hard to get myself there. I would get myself there. It would be a struggle. I would enjoy my workout when I did, but why would I face that hurdle every day when I could just make it easier for myself training in the morning and actually improve my cognitive function by doing so for my work.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that if you leave things till the last minute, even though I'm the biggest procrastinator out there, if you leave things till the last minute, statistically, more things are going to happen to fuck that thing up. So if you
Yeah.
train at 7 p.m., you've got a whole day for something to get in your way. Whereas if you get it done at 6 a.m., you're literally waking up. There is nothing going to happen in between waking up and getting to the gym because it's so early.
Yeah, and you're avoiding that big rush. Do you know what I mean? Like that's such a big deterrent. What if you've really had to push yourself to actually just get to the gym in the evening and then you get there and you can't get any of the machines that you need to use?
Yeah.
I think it's like it's creating this unnecessary obstacle for yourself when I think for most people it's optional, and I think if most people trained that early in the morning, if it was possible for them with their life, that a lot more people would stick at the gym long term, a lot more people would see the results they want to see, and a lot more people would really enjoy the journey a lot more because they're not trying to fight to get into a machine.
And when you suggest that to your clients, what is their initial reaction when you tell a client, you know what, if you're struggling with time in this and this, go at 5 a.m. What's your initial response from them, and how many of them stick with it?
Right, the ones that started straight away stick with it. So the ones that do that from week one are sticking with it. Other people, I feel like if they're building it up in their head, they're making it out to seem worse than it is. But most people that I coach, they start work at 9 a.m. There's no reason they can't be there for 6 a.m. I have a couple of mothers, and I understand that if their partners aren't home, it's not possible for them to do their training in the morning. And that's fine. But, 90% of my clients aren't mothers. They're not in that position, and they don't start work till at least 9 a.m., if not after. So yeah, honestly, Craig, anyone that does it within the first week sticks to it, but it's very rare that I've had a client who struggles through the evening part for the first week and then just gradually transitions into morning
Mm,
training.
yeah.
So the reaction, I don't push it on people, but if somebody begins to tell me that they just didn't have time on this day and this day, I suppose I say, well, what were you doing at this time and what were you doing at 9 p.m. last night that was so important? We need to look at this, I suppose, objectively. If 9 p.m. you weren't doing anything useful for yourself and you also found that it was really hard to keep out of the snacks cupboard, then why don't you be in bed before that and then get yourself up earlier, get the gym done, and snack less?
Yeah, absolutely. I, I mean, it's easy for us to say, isn't it? And I think it's also easy when people have actually done it a little bit because it becomes, oh, actually, this fucking works. I always find that it's that shift. As soon as they get over the hump, but they've got to go up the hump to get over it in the first place. As soon as they've done that, they realize it's so much easier.
I totally agree. And I think, with clients maybe that are quite new to the gym and have just joined up as they've joined your coaching, I think it's really important for them to develop that initial good relationship. You leave it until the evening time and have to really talk yourself into going every evening for that first week. Possibilities of you really loving the gym when it's over machines you want to use, you're straight away putting yourself at a disadvantage, and you're probably not going to love it until you go there at a time that actually isn't that busy and actually you can get everything done.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I just want to take it back briefly because I did have a question. We was talking about having a group of people around you, or surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded, so that you can feel comfortable in the decisions that you do. What kind of things have you implemented? Because we've spoke about it before on coffee chats and business calls about creating community. What have you done for your clients to kind of help them find those like-minded individuals?
Um, So a lot of my clients, a lot of them are from the same area. So, a lot of them would pair up together. What I did run, and I thought it was really, really successful, and it's still actually running at the minute, was a January challenge, but I encouraged people to pair up to do it. And this worked really, really well because you've got sisters doing it, you've got like best friends doing it, you've got couples doing it, that kind of thing, where I'm coaching their girlfriend and my boyfriend is coaching their partner, which has been really interesting. But it means support, and it means that like, you know yourself, Craig, if you're around all of these people that are constantly, I suppose, not focused on their health and fitness, it's going to be extremely hard for you to do that. But I've also, well, I'm still in the planning process. I'm trying to create a virtual coffee and chat with my clients. But we're just trying to confirm a day and a time at the minute. What I've also done is planned a photo shoot, and that's an outcome of that January challenge. So I've got some girls that are doing that with me. That's actually just in a few weeks' time. And it's been really good. They've been able to support each other in that, and also I'm in it with them. So I very much so I'm talking to them about how many weeks out we are. We're going through the struggle together, and I know that they're turning to me with, you know, all of the, let's say, the revelations they're having about themselves on the journey, because they know I'm going through it too, and they may not necessarily have any of their friends that are into the same thing.
Mm. The photo shoot challenges are absolutely phenomenal ways of creating that community. I did my first one last year with my clients, and it was probably that was the thing that really started to push the community aspect within my business, because I could see how those 15 individuals had all kind of come together and almost done it as a team and supported each other. And then on the day, you know, you could just see that they was all elated to share it with somebody else rather than just their own photos, their own thing. And that's what I was like, you know, it's almost like a eureka moment, you know, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
I need to do this more, and then do other elements to bring different aspects of community in as well.
Yeah, I think it's incredible because, you know, things are really, really hard on your own. Like it's like anything else, you know, when we go to like school or we go to university or anything like that, you're surrounded by people who are there for the same reason as you are, and they help you through the process. But then when it comes to your health and fitness, if you don't have anyone to go on that journey with you, it makes it 10 times harder. You know, you
Mm,
don't get to experience the joys, discuss them, experience the struggles and how you've overcome them. So I think like being on a coaching team as well, I think is really, really beneficial for that reason, as opposed to just doing it by yourself, and also getting the guidance all from the same person. So I'd have a lot of like sisters, cousins, relatives, things like that, and they'd sign up with me at the same time. And I think it's a really, really good push factor for them, because they've got each other to kind of celebrate their wins, and then they'll let me know all about them as well.
yeah. Now, outside of your little community, so you'll have your partner, you'll have, you know, certain people in the gym and friends and other competitors. Do you ever feel like you're do you ever feel like you're the anomaly, you're the strange one? Because I'm sure you have the same thought process as me, where we feel like we're doing things in the right way. You know, we
Yeah.
look after our nutrition, we look after our health, we try and improve our mental health, but in our circle, the things that we do is quite normal. But do you ever
Yeah.
feel like it's abnormal when you move outside those circles, like maybe family gatherings where family members aren't of the same thought process, or old friends? You know, do you ever feel out of place?
You know, I used to, but now I feel like I'm doing the right thing, and I do understand as well that like competing is considered an extreme sport. But let's say outside of that, when you're meeting people maybe for a night away and you don't want to eat the English fry that's produced the next morning and you choose to have something else, I suppose like what I'm looking out for when I'm not having those things and I'm not in prep is, you know, how's it going to make me feel, how's it going to sit with me. And I have definitely dealt with like judgment and remarks from both friends and family before, but I'm pretty outspoken in those situations, so I'll always kill someone with facts. If somebody's saying, you know, would you not eat that, you don't need to lose any weight, I'm kind of looking at them going, I don't want to eat that. It doesn't make me feel good. So I don't see why I'd eat something that I don't want to eat that's not going to make me feel good, and that I literally don't want in the first place. Just, I suppose, to satisfy your needs,
Mm,
which
yeah.
which is what it is. You're making them feel uncomfortable. For I'm not sure why, but I think the issue lies in their court rather than ours.
Yeah, and I give that exact same advice to every single one of my clients, especially those that perhaps those are my clients that are on the larger side when they start. You know, they have excess body fat, they're in an unhealthy place, and they start to lose weight. They start to feel better about themselves. They start creating better habits, and then perhaps a family member says something like, "Oh, you need to stop now. You're losing too much, or you're looking skinny," or even though they're not, they're becoming healthier individuals, and they're just a lot smaller than what they used to be. And they come to
Hmm.
me like, "No, what do I do? Because I feel like, I feel terrible because they've said these things to me." And I says, they are just feeling bad because you're making them feel bad because of their own insecurities.
Yeah, it's that, and it's like sometimes I take a step back from the situation, and I'm like, why is your version the normal one? Like yours isn't healthy. Like I should be asking you the question, but I don't judge anyone for whatever decisions they make in regards to their health and fitness. And I think we deserve that same respect in return. But I also think that if any one of those people lived our lifestyle for a couple of weeks and felt how good you feel, how much energy you have, how good your digestion is, how much reduced your stress is, and how accomplished you feel at the end of each week. I think it's time to talk other people into doing it rather than judging me for what I do.
For sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
feel amazing. And I think the aspect like where people kind of call it egotistical, you spend so much time training and everything and it's just for your body. It's like, no, it's not just for my body. It's like I have never felt better. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not constantly fatigued throughout the day. And I know that my blood markers are really good. I used to suffer with acne, and as soon as I started this lifestyle, I have not suffered with it once because it's all down to my nutrition, the way I live, the way I sleep, the way I manage my stress. And I really think that everybody should be doing it to some extent.
Emily, wait till you've got two kids under the age of three. That all goes out the window. Sleep is non-existent. Stress
But
is
Craig, you
through the
manage it
roof.
well.
No, Emily, no, I don't. I am on that knife edge at all times.
No, I think
Oh,
you manage it really well. You don't seem stressed. Even if there's stress in your life, I think you respond to it very well.
oh, the facade of social media.
No.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, having kids, it's obviously a different kind of stress and pressure, um, especially at dinner time. When you have kids, I don't know if you're planning on having kids, but when you have kids and they stop eating, even though you know they love the meal that you've put in front of them, but they just refuse to eat it, it is the most annoying thing you could. And then they throw it on the floor. I don't want to rant about my life and two kids under three, but oh my days, it is a different level of stress. If you think
Okay.
managing a stressful client is difficult, you got to have kids.
It's okay. You've only got like 15 years of it left.
Oh my days.
No, I totally agree with you, Craig. Look, everybody, has their own personal situation and their own stressors in their life. And as we spoke about, you choose your heart. You have decided to have kids, and you are reaping the rewards of that. I'm sure they bring so much brightness into your life, even if you're stuck on the stress part right now. Um, I think they do, and you've chose to have them, and it's so worth it. But you're still managing to make time for your own health and fitness because you want to be around longer for them and you want to be healthier for them in your later years.
I had kids so they could look after me when I have dementia. I don't have to go in a care home. The one
Okay,
reason.
maybe I will have some. I hadn't planned on it, but you've talked me into it.
Oh my days. No. So health and safety. You mentioned it earlier. You was into health and safety, and now you're you have now transitioned into online coaching. What was your impetus to do that? I mean, apart from the obvious, you're in the industry anyway, but what made you want to make the jump?
So it was in the pipeline for a while now. I'd kind of been thinking about it for over a year. But I had only been doing part-time for them now for the last year and a half. Um, it just I found that my days could be extremely long with coaching. Like I could be on the laptop and doing client work and stuff like that from 8 a.m. in the morning till 8 at night, skipping into my sleep time. But I didn't mind. I was finishing the day with a smile on my face. And then when I had to do literally my 4 or 5 hours of work for health and safety, I just wasn't there mentally. And I was doing the health and safety work, and I just I felt like I could be like producing content that helped people or talking to people and helping them through things. And I just fell in love with the coaching so much that when I was dedicating the time to doing the health and safety, all I could think about was the time I wasn't spending doing that. And I
Yeah.
felt like you know when your body, like it's nearly like you feel allergic to it. I became that way. You know, I just, there was a real push and force. It was really, really hard for me to just keep doing it. And I like to do a good job. I like to be fully present at every single thing that I do in life. Otherwise, I don't know why I'd be doing it. So my why for doing it was now a lot weaker, and I need a strong why behind anything I do.
Yeah. And I love talking to people that make that jump though, because it's so easy to get stuck. I know so many people that have been stuck in a career that they hate for 20, 25 years, just because they feel like they should be there, like they get comfortable. I was a paramedic for 15 years, and
Oh, cool.
I in the last so I became an online coach 5 years ago, and I started making that transition, and I was exactly the same as you. Even though it's a great job, I actually love being a paramedic. It just
Hmm.
wasn't something that got me out of bed in the morning. Like you say, you almost feel like you feel physically sick when you know you've got a shift coming up. Whereas if I've got a day of coaching clients on a laptop, I get revved up for it.
Love it. Yeah, and it's like clients would message me during that time, and all I wanted to do was reply to them. Do you know, I was like, I care about this person, and health and safety. I know it is also caring for people's health and safety, but it's these days, in most companies, it's about complying with legislation. And yes, it is as a whole looking out for the health and safety and the welfare of your employees. But you're not the direct contact for each of these people. Whereas your own clients, like you talk to them, you help them, and what you say and what you do directly impacts their life. And I love that. And that might sound selfish because I want to know that exact person has received help from me. But I think the difference between working in health and safety and working in a job that helps people to improve their health is that one of them, the people have come to you for help, they want to change. And when you're in a role of health and safety, as you may resonate with this yourself, people roll their eyes.
Mm.
People dread the health and safety officer. They don't want your help, but you have to push to help them. So
I think people like to think that they know better. If you're going to them and you're saying, right, we need to wear these gloves to do this job. Oh no, I want to wear these gloves or not wear any gloves at all because of this reason. I know better.
yeah, and it's based on such a broad spectrum, I guess. Like you're basing it on accident rates and stuff like that. Whereas like I'm a personal person. Do you get me? Like I love talking to someone and explaining the why behind why we're doing what we're doing, and this is why you still have cardio in your plan because we want to improve your cardiovascular health and your lung capacity and make you healthier and more energetic. And I found that I was like definitely getting a bit slower at the health and safety because I'm trying to convince people to come to my side.
Mm.
Please be health and safety conscious. I don't want you to have an injury. But it wasn't. You're governed as well. Like you're following legislation, and sometimes you mightn't even understand the why behind certain things, but yet you have to push them things.
Mm.
And
I,
you mightn't agree with them. So
I used to one of my role. I worked for different roles in the ambulance service, and part of it we had a rope, not rescue, but we did working at height. So we worked with ropes and we treated patients at height. And I was one of the rope instructors. And it's amazing how people buy into health and safety when you're suspended from a crane and the fear of death is very real. So I
yeah.
never had the issues of people not complying with health and safety because, like, oh, you would have had it in your roles. Like, there would have been a risk of death, But I think the risk of death from machinery chopping your head off versus I am actually dangling from a crane, and if I don't do this, I'm going to die. I found it quite easy to convince them.
Yeah, no, I think that's enough to convince people to not be playing about with their health and safety.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what challenges did you get? So I speak to people all the time who want to become online coaches, but what challenges did you find, and what are you finding being an online coach?
It took me a while to gain the confidence to really go at it. With me, like I've always struggled with imposter syndrome. So whether that was in relationships, friendships, jobs, college, literally everything, I always felt like, what if someone notices I don't know what I'm at? When in reality, like I'd done all of those things really well, and I nurture my relationships, and I like, as I said to you, I don't do things if I'm not going to do them well. But I suppose I never believed in myself, and I always just believed somehow I got here and I got lucky. So building that confidence and actually realizing that I know what I'm talking about, becoming assertive, um, and being able to actually like instruct people instead of just discuss things when you actually know what you're talking about and you are coming from a place of factual information and experience. Sometimes you do have to be that bit more assertive. So it took me a while to gain that. And since I did address this, probably since May of last year, started working on it a little bit, things got a lot brighter. And I gained more confidence because I became assertive.
Mm. And did you have anyone help you do that, or did you just find it from like people getting results and getting successes within your coaching?
No, I've actually done quite a bit of counselling. I had initially seen a counsellor quite a few times a good few years ago when I was younger. I struggled with an eating disorder, I struggled with my mental health, and things like that. So counselling from quite a young age, like let's say 16 or 17, was introduced into my life, and I found it very, very helpful. So then last year and maybe the year before, I kind of revisited that, because I realized the issue with my confidence was pretty huge and was holding me back a lot. And yeah, I spoke it over with the counselor, and I suppose now what I do is I fact check the thoughts that are coming into my head. So instead of thinking, I'm not good enough here, and how can I tell someone to do this? You're an imposter. What if you get caught out because you're an imposter? That kind of thing. Regardless of how many degrees, certifications, courses you do, this didn't go away for me. So when I discussed it with the counselor, it was very much so. You need to question your thoughts. Is this true? Like, is this true what you're telling yourself? Are you not competent? And it was like, no, that's not true. And then that's when I started reading up about the imposter syndrome. And I find when you understand something, then you can get over it. But until you're willing to acknowledge that that is a problem and that it's not normal and that you've got a lot more to give than you give yourself credit to, I think it's going to be very hard to move past it.
Mm. I definitely have that in relation to like physique stuff. You know, if I'm talking about how you create fat loss, how you build muscle, how you do this, I'm very confident in what I'm saying. But especially because I have a history of being very, very fat as a kid. I came through obesity. I had to really struggle with weight for many years. I think even like now, competing, there's still like meltdowns that I have with my coach. I'm like, oh, I just don't feel like I'm big enough. Don't feel like I'm lean enough. Don't feel like I've got the shape. And it does take a lot for someone to get over those things, I think.
Yeah, and I think as well, Craig, like when you're somebody who's constantly looking ahead, moving forward, always focusing on just being that bit better, the only people you ever compare yourself to are those that are doing better than you. So I completely resonate with this. I'm always, not actually currently, but I was always comparing myself to women competing who are in the game years, or they're top level pros and Olympians. And I'm looking at them going, but I'm not there, so I'm not good enough. When in reality, like that is not comparable. I'm in the
Mm,
amateur league. Why am I comparing myself to anyone? But more than that, like why are you comparing yourself to someone that is at that level? And I bet the same goes for you. Like you're not comparing yourself to somebody who has just been training for the same length of time as you. You're
mm,
comparing yourself for people that you want to work towards, I suppose, achieving a similar physique to or a same amount of muscle mass.
mm. Yeah,
And that gets
definitely.
in your head because you're constantly the worst in your head in comparison to them.
Yeah, 100%. I think, and I don't know whether you've had the same perception, but when you look at like shows online, you see their social media. I don't know whether it's just my perception, but I feel like they're showing less of the whole stage. So showing
Mm-hmm.
less of all the competitors together, and they're showing far more individual shots. And I quite like that because it shows that maybe they're focusing on the individual rather than the comparing. Obviously, they've got to compare people, but
Yeah.
I feel like they're pushing more towards people getting on stage and just being the best version of themselves.
Yeah, and I think it's brilliant as well. But I do think as well, like seeing comparison photos, like seeing things zoomed out a little bit, is really important because people post their best angles on social media, but when stage shots are put up, you realize that, they probably aren't that much more muscular than you, and they just don't look as they did in their mirror selfie and their check-in photos. So I totally agree with you on it's nice that they're focusing on the individual athletes. I think it's very, very motivational because they're not just doing it with the professionals, they're putting up the amateurs as well, and the people who have the room for improvement, and people who are starting out and competing need to see that. They need to see that nobody started off looking like Isa Bassini.
Mm, absolutely. And what would be your top three tips for a woman that was looking to start competing, no matter how old? What would be the three things that you would go for?
Okay, one massive thing is where's your relationship with food at? So because I dealt with an eating disorder for 5 years, I was bulimic, it was bad. That was from when I was like 14 to 19 or something like that. Because of that, I was forced to work on my relationship with food, or else just be taken down by that, basically, because my health was deteriorating. You felt like shit all the time. So I was forced to do that work, but I think that everybody should do work on their relationship with food. Even if somebody doesn't struggle with their body composition, I think that you need to be eating in a structured manner. Like, how are things on the inside? I think that everybody needs some control over their food, and I think that this idea that people have, you shouldn't be tracking things, food doesn't need to be measured. I just would tend to argue with that, because what do your blood results say and what do your health markers actually tell you? Because it's not all about what's on the outside. So my first tip would be work on your relationship with food, get into a structured eating pattern, start eating your meals a day, your fruits and your vegetables. I really don't think anyone should be going into a competition prep or going down that route if they're not right now eating, three portions, three good meals a day with either fruits or veggies. Um, my second tip is make sure you are financially stable to do it. These shows are really expensive. And the last thing you want to do is go through with like a 16 to 20 week competition prep, and then start to kind of pull back finances, maybe do your own tan, get like a cheaper bikini, maybe not be able to get proper stage heels because now you've just dedicated 20 weeks of your life and you can't present it properly. Or maybe you couldn't afford posing lessons, things like that. My third tip is you have to be willing to work hard, to assign the time for it. You're never going to just have the time for a competition prep. So make sure that your life allows you to give that time to it, because things are going to take you longer. Work is going to take you longer. Training sessions take you longer because your energy levels reduce. So be willing, I suppose, to work on just trying to upkeep everything in your life while moving forward with your competition prep. Because once again, it's expensive. So half-assing it is going to cost you a lot of money.
And don't you think that there's a lot of people going into competitions these days that don't realize how expensive it is? They don't realize how much time they're going to commit to it because you may be, if you're unlucky, you may be doing 2 hours of cardio a day. You might be doing
Yeah.
25,000 steps a day, which takes 3 hours.
Yeah, and I think people are so hung up. I remember a few girls said to me before, "What calories are you on? Mine have went down now to 1100. Is that too low?" And I'm looking at them going, "Are you lean enough? And if you're not lean enough, then are you going to change your show diet?" Because your two options here are stick with your show diet, do your whatever calorie deficit you're in and your cardio, and come in shape, or you can choose not to stick to that calorie deficit and you can go in and do the show, and you're going to feel pretty conscious up there because you're not in the shape that you need to be. So your whole prep is going to be a waste in that regard, because you're not going to enjoy your time on stage. So it's like you do what you need to do. This isn't how enjoyable can I make this process for you. You can make it enjoyable, but you've got to embrace that if you're not ready for your show diet and you don't want to go that low on calories, then you need to consider moving your show diet.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing that I learnt um, in my first show is, when I first started my prep, I was coaching myself. I had no business competing, Emily. No business. No, I was
When did
100.
you do your show?
So it was 2021 with the UK DFBA. So I was natural at the time, and I did all my coaching myself. I learnt to pose by myself. I had zero input from the outside world, and it was the worst decision I could ever have made because I was so fat at the time, and I just needed this goal to get me lean. And don't get me wrong, 30 kilos of weight that you lose, you're going to be in decent condition if you train, but I wasn't in stage shape, and I had this perception that I wouldn't have to go below 1,600 calories, and I definitely won't have to do more than 30 minutes of cardio a day. And then the realization hits, and I'm on 1,000 calories for the last month and doing 2 hours of cardio a day, and and even then it probably wasn't enough because you do things wrong when you're coaching yourself, don't you?
And as well, if you're doing 2 hours of cardio and with that low of calories, like how are you going to retain your muscle tissue even if you are assisted? Oh, you weren't assisted at the
I
time
was
either. Yeah.
natural at the time, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer in taking a long prep and giving yourself enough time, but also trying to maintain a little bit more structure in the off season so that there isn't, what I constantly see is, and like I'm talking about the ones that do it intentionally, not that it happens by accident, but where girls push their weight up by 30 pounds or so after a show, gradually, so that they can have more muscle to bring to the stage the following year. And then they have to spend 25 weeks in a deficit and push really hard, only probably to lose that new muscle. So, I think it's really important to stay in shape throughout the year for that reason.
Yeah, people definitely. I've done it before. People get too fat in off seasons, and
Yeah.
I think this year I'm quite lucky that even though I gained, I've been in the best shape I've ever been at like 109 kilos. I still had kind of a little bit of a glimmer of abs, so clinging on for dear life. So it's definitely been better this year, but I think it's easy to lose sight of whatever you gain, you're going to have to lose again. So let's not make it that hard next time round.
Yeah, like people get so caught up on it's off season, so I'm going to treat myself, treat myself, treat myself. And in my opinion, that is not worth going to bed absolutely starving and having to just suffer for weeks on end in a prep. I think if you want to have something nice, you've got to try count that in. You can't be going off the rails. In saying that, I do allow myself plenty of flexibility. I do consume alcohol in the off season, and meals out and stuff that aren't tracked, but they're monitored in the sense that it's one a week, and if I've went overboard in one a week, I might not have one the following week because it's your body. Like it's gonna show the consequences whether you
Mm.
want it or not.
And did you develop that mentality since having someone look after you as a coach? I know he's your boyfriend, but do you feel like you could still maintain that if you didn't have a coach?
Yeah, so Piers coaches me, but it's quite a combined effort. It's part of the reason as well I wouldn't go to anyone else. I have a lot of input on my prep. Piers pushes me and he sets, I suppose, the plan. But like I'm so in tune with my body that like I'm calling the shots when it comes to like when I need to rest. I can suffer, I can push, and I can persevere through things, but I know when pushing is going to be counterproductive to my goal. If you're physically unable to focus and you can barely get out of bed, I know for me, I need to call a rest day and things like that. But in relation to like the question that you've asked, do I think I developed that mindset with a coach? Um, no, Craig, I think it's something I've always wanted to develop. I wanted to always have this much control over everything that happened. And I think if your only push is your coach, I don't think your why is good enough. So my why is that I actually want to know that I've done the very best that I possibly could through the things that I do in my daily life. Not just for the accountability for a coach, but obviously that does play a role. It probably helped to kickstart that mentality for me. Very much so, like do it or don't do it, but like either way, that's going to reflect on the results that you see in yourself.
Mm,
But I think that one was something that came from an early age. I've always been, you know, the way some people, a lot of people try to blame certain things on other people. I've always held myself to a high standard of accountability in that regard. Like, I probably do it too much. Like, I'd go, well, actually, this happened and it was my fault. And sometimes it, you know, people are going to go, well, it's not your fault. And I'm like, no, I put myself in that situation. I chose to do this. And I think that really, really helps me with my competition prep, because at no point do I start complaining about something if it's not in my control.
It's almost like a victim. Yeah, I hate it when people play the victim card. You know, if someone gets into trouble or if someone does something and there's a repercussion, repra. Come on, help me out, Emily. What am I trying to say?
Repercussion.
Yeah, there's repercussions from that. I think you know what these are the facts. You did that. Like you had this meal, you did this, you chose not to train or whatever it might be. Let's just deal with it. Like you don't need to kill yourself over it, but we need to just
No, and
accept that it is your decision.
this is it. So I would have clients that do message me and they're like, look, I just really, really don't feel like going to the gym, and or else I really didn't feel like going on Wednesday and I just couldn't make it, and then I couldn't hit my step target. And my response isn't, oh my God, now you need to do double. My response is, that's okay. Understand that it's impacted your check-in. I'm like, you know, you all you need to know here is that you probably missed out on developing some muscle tissue this week because you didn't do that training session. If it's a once off, I don't mind. But if it's somebody just continually not hitting their steps and that, I'm just kind of giving them facts back. Okay, understand that by not getting these, you've just slowed the process down. I was like, you know, this isn't my place. I'm not going to be chasing you with a stick. But you need to not expect to see a higher rate of progress when you didn't expend as many calories as you were due to expend.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's the same with like I've clients who, you know, I overdone it. Very few of them. My clients are all freaking brilliant, thank God. It's all women, so but yeah, so you'd have clients that maybe go off the rails a bit with either food or alcohol, or they go on the piss, go on a night out, and the following day they can't manage it. But maybe they keep doing it and they know the following day they're not going to get their steps in. They know they're not going to stick to their plan and everything like that, and they're saying, look, I done it, I just felt like crap. And I'm like, that's okay, but just understand that it's your progress, it doesn't impact my progress,
Hmm. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. You want the results. I want you to get results, but you got to do the work. You got to do the things that you need to do to get those results.
Exactly, Craig, and I'm very helpful. Like I will help clients manage nights out, alcohol intake, how I've dealt with it in the past, and I suppose done both, progressed and also had that balance of social outings. And 95% of them will take that on board. They'll come to me then the following week or the following day and say, I couldn't believe it. I felt amazing today. I followed what you told me to do. I had such a great time and I'm not dying today, and I was able to get my steps in. And I'm like, incredible. And then they can't wait for their next night out. They're not afraid of it anymore. But if you're not willing to adapt and take things on board from a coach, you do have to question why you've hired one.
Yeah, I learned very early on that as you work with more people. Now, luckily, I worked with a lot of people over the last 5 years. The more people you're exposed to, the more you realize that actually there's a lot of people out there that are willing to pay a hell of a lot of money and not do anything about it. And it's incredible how many people will pay a good amount of money and then still not use the service that they're paying for.
I know, I don't understand it. And I think maybe, you know, they're like, well, I've paid her, so she can't be annoyed, you know, or I've paid that coach, they can't be annoyed. But thing is, like, what makes our job so enjoyable is watching other people flourish and watching them become these confident versions of themselves that they've never seen before. It's not just to dish out a plan, get the money, and then never speak to the person again. I don't want that. I want to talk to you. I want to help you pull forward. But if you won't communicate with me, I don't know how I'm meant to do that.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know? Exactly. Like you're dying to help people. And how much of a buzz do you get, Craig, when somebody checks in and they've seen this weight they've never seen before on the scales, or they've fitted into these clothes they've never fitted in before, or they felt comfortable in their body in a social outing?
The first thing I say to clients is in a consultation or in their onboarding video or something like that is, I need to make you clear, you cannot bother me enough. If you're messaging me every single day, I know for a fact you're going to get results. That's the only thing I need you to do is just message me every day and do the tasks that you're assigned. And if you can't do it, message me. If you have done it, message me.
Message me.
You know, message
I
me
know,
every
like,
day.
and that's it. Some people are going to find things hard, but that's what we're here for. Like, and that balances out because there's some people who just take to it with ease. But like, I have a few clients there, and one of them, she's back from a holiday, and things have got a little bit gloomy. She's not really feeling great. She's been neglecting her steps and everything. So I have her now sending me over her step count after the end of every single day because it's just about building that habit back up and updating me on her water intake. I have three other clients doing that as well because they need it, and it's not creating a whole lot of work for yourself, but it helps them massively. You
Yeah.
know, I've heard horror stories about other coaches like, they're just given macros and that's fine, but they're not actually taught on how to use my fitness pal and things like that. And they've been asked, what could I have for a protein source? I'm vegan, or I'm vegetarian, and the coach just replying, have a protein shake with every meal of the day. Or someone's struggling with steps, you just need to get them done. Therefore, your goal. I just what's great about them coaches is that the good ones will really shine through, and they will never get that client back. But what's sad is that maybe some people only ever go to that coach and then get a bad idea of what coaches are really like.
Yeah. I probably get one client a week sign up who has come from another or has had a bad experience in the past. And the first conversation will be, well, how do you do it? Because this is what I've had in the past, and I'll explain it to them. And you can always tell that there's a little bit of apprehension because they perhaps don't completely buy into what you're offering them because they've had the same spiel with someone else. But they, after the first week, the messages that I get is always, I cannot believe how much I'm getting for online coaching. I said, you shouldn't be surprised. This should be the norm.
This is what it should be. And do you know what? You've got so many coaches these days who are brilliant at marketing. They could sell you anything, but they deliver on nothing. So I think it's really important for if somebody's considering going with a coach, get in touch with their clients, get in touch with their past clients, before you book a consultation call with them. And I know as well that a lot of my previous clients have been with a coach that would be in Ireland as well. And, they're all coming to me with the same story. And I'm looking at them going, why were you with this coach? And it's like, with just her content, like I liked, training videos and stuff like that. And I'm just like, don't be going with a coach for their freaking reels. Like, I get it. Everybody needs to market a little bit, but do your research before you go and spend 400 or 500 euro, which is what they were spending up front with this person.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I know, Craig. It like when I was told it, I was just like speechless, which is really unusual for me.
Ah.
You're the
Look,
same.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's very few occasions where I'm lost for words. But talking of being lost for words, what I would like to do is because we're at 58 minutes, and I told you it always happens. We always get to that point where it's going to be like an hour and a half podcast. I'd like to finish with a little game that I've been doing at the end of the podcast called Over or Underrated. And I'm just going to do
Okay,
some quick fire, and I want your immediate answer, and then you can give a short reason as to why you've answered that. Okay? So,
go.
quick fire. So, overrated or underrated recording yourself in the gym?
Over.
Overrated. Go on. Tell me why.
Um, well, all of my movements, I probably do, let's say 10, 12 actual movements in the exercise in the gym on my training plan, and that's it. So if I'm continually recording myself in the gym, you're just going to continue to see the same video.
Cool. I'm not going to show you any more of my reels because they're all pretty much the same. Oh God. Oh well.
I think it's great. I think it's great for form. I think you need to be sending them to your coach for form. But if you're talking about from a coach's perspective to be putting online, nah.
I
So
love it.
some of them cover the exercises and then get on with it.
Yeah. Glute bridges.
Over.
Overrated.
Yeah. I think if you're going to be doing a half hip thrust, you might as well be doing the full thing, get your full range of motion, build up those assistant muscles, and glute bridges. Let's face it, that's what they are. They're a half hip thrust, unless it's somebody that just needs to grow their glutes with minimal hamstring.
Cool. Nice. I hate doing glute bridges and I hate programming them. I think if you can do a reverse lunge, if you can do a Bulgarian split squat, if you can do a squat, you are going to be developing your glutes. So how about we just do them?
Yeah.
Give me
Hip
one.
thrusts though are underrated. If somebody is trying to grow their glutes from nothing and they're not doing a hip thrust, they're majorly missing out.
Absolutely. KFC.
Over. I've no
No.
opinion on it, Craig. I don't really eat. It's not that I don't eat it because of what it is or anything like that. I just would never enjoy it.
Oh, I love KFC.
Oh
Absolutely
no.
love it. Oh, Emily, come on. Cardio.
You're suffering. Under. I love
Underrated.
cardio.
Why do you love it so much?
Cardio. Cardio is like my time. Like I genuinely feel like I'm having a party on the Stairmaster every time I go on it. I dread it, but I love it when I get it started. I think it's the same as everything else. And there's no other point in the day where I love listening to like, Neo, Justin Timberlake, Rihanna, all of the golden oldies.
Oh my days. Justin Timberlake. What's your go-to Justin Timberlake album?
Love Stoned.
Nice. Very good.
You?
In Love Stoned, he was my first concert tour that I went to see.
Oh my god, I'd love to see him. I love Justin on songs, and I think he sounds so hot on songs, but then his acting makes me cringe. It turns me right off him.
I will tell you a little story, Emily. I think I was 18 and I was into Justin Timberlake and I thought if I could dance like Justin Timberlake, I'm going to get a girlfriend. So I went to Justin Timberlake and don't know why, I wore a red t-shirt and a vest, a waistcoat.
Yeah.
But it did not go. And for the whole evening after we went out into town, I was trying to dance like Justin Timberlake. And the amount of people that came up to me was like, "You went to see Justin Timberlake tonight, didn't you?" I was like, "Yes."
With pride.
With pride. And I was absolutely butchering everything. Did not look great on the dance floor. Alas, that was many years ago.
Oh my god, I'd pay to see a video of that, Craig.
I'm pretty sure I've got a video somewhere. That's the thing. Emily, look, we're going to end it there because we are at an hour, and I promised myself it's never going to be over an hour. But it's been amazing chatting. If anyone wants to get in touch, if they want to see your progress, if they are looking for an online coach and then they think you'd be a good fit for them, where can they find you?
So usually through Instagram, that's where I would chat to most people. My Instagram is fit underscore by underscore Emilie. So I spell my name differently in my Instagram handle because Emily wasn't available. There's no good reason behind it, but I have an inquiry link in my bio, or you can message me directly if you want to find out more.
Fantastic, lovely. I will put everything in the bios if anyone wants to find out. If they couldn't follow that spelling of the name, I will put it in the description. And Emily, thank you very much. I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Craig. It's been a pleasure.
See you a bit. Bye.
Bye.